A lot of care was put into the world of Cyberpunk 2077, which makes it tragic that so many players are having difficulty even accessing the streets of Night City at the moment. Still, there are a ton of rad secrets and Easter eggs peppered throughout Night City, and I wanted to share some of my favorites. Keep in mind this is not an exhaustive list. I know there are more specific references to films like Demolition Man and Mad Max, but we'll get to those when we go district by district to find everything Night City has to offer. Today, we're mostly looking at general secrets hidden in multiple places throughout the game, or secrets that pop up during quest lines, though we'll keep spoilers to a minimum. We'll also be taking a look at the game's homage to Blade Runner in what has to be one of the best Easter eggs I have ever seen in any game, but we'll get to that soon enough. So, let's take a look at some of the secrets and Easter eggs in Cyberpunk 2077. So let's start off with a reference to another popular video game series. During the Epistrophe questline, the AI taxi service Delamain will request that V track down some of their taxi cabs that have gone rogue. Each cab will have a unique voice, personality, and objective associated with it, and the one in Pacifica has a very familiar voice.
Well, you found me. Congratulations. Was it worth it?
That's right, it's GLaDOS from Valve's Portal franchise, and all of this cab's lines are actually ripped straight out of the Portal games. Take a listen.
It turns out most humans are surprisingly fragile, and surprisingly vocal about how fragile they are.
Going back to Delamain really so scary? You gotta drag this out.
I let you survive this long because I was curious about your behavior. Well, you've managed to destroy that part of me. A bitter, unlikable loner, whose passing shall not be mourned.
Valve's other flagship franchise is also referenced multiple times throughout Night City. Crowbars are a fairly common melee weapon found throughout the world of Cyberpunk, and they carry the same distinctive orange hue as the iconic Crowbar from the Half-Life series. The item's flavor text also states that the weapon is a favorite of burglars and theoretical physicists from MIT, a clear nod to Half-Life's main protagonist, Gordon Freeman. Additionally, throughout Night City, you may come across a review for a game called No Life 3. The game has been in development for 50 years, and stars the silent scientist Baron Freemanch and his companion Alice as they adventure through the Arctic Circle. This references the series' main characters, Gordon and Alex, the long-held belief that the game will take us to Antarctica, and the fact that the game has languished in development hell for almost a decade and a half now. With the prequel Half-Life Alyx coming out this year, I certainly hope we won't have to wait another 50 years for Half-Life 3. All throughout the game, you will see several arcade machines that, unfortunately, you cannot interact with. However, many of them will have a game called Roach Race on it, a reference to Geralt of Rivia's trusty steed from CD Projekt's other main franchise, The Witcher. Speaking of, The Witcher has a more direct cameo during the Corpo Life Path's intro quest. Here, players will have access to V's office, which, just a side note, is gorgeously lit. Red and cyan just go really good together. Within the drawer of V's desk, we will see a retro gaming magazine with art from The Witcher 3 on it. As far as I know, this is the only appearance of Ciri in the game, which does kinda surprise me. She's a dimension hopper, and did straight up reference that she visited a world that sounds a lot like Night City in The Witcher 3.
The world where Eridan couldn't find you. What was it like?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
Try me.
People there had metal in their heads, waged war from a distance, using things similar to megascopes. And there were no horses. Everyone had their own flying ship instead.
Ciri, stop fooling around.
Told you you wouldn't believe me.
Who knows, maybe she'll show up in the DLC. A smaller Easter egg hidden in plain sight is Judy's avatar icon over the holophone. As you can see, it is literally a cute little ghost in a seashell, a reference to the Japanese media franchise Ghost in the Shell, considered one of the most influential pieces of cyberpunk literature and cinema ever released. One of the vehicles you can buy in-game also borrows its name from Ghost in the Shell's main protagonist, Major Motoko Kusanagi. This Yaiba Kusanagi, as you can see, also bears a striking resemblance to the motorcycle used by Shotaro Kaneda, the main protagonist of the Akira media franchise, which is perhaps the most influential anime film ever made. The Yaiba Kusanagi is undoubtedly the fastest bike in the game, a fitting achievement for a bike with such iconic origins. The Matrix, another pillar of cyberpunk science fiction, is referenced often through the game, perhaps unsurprising given that Keanu Reeves is a main character in both franchises. One of the commercials you can see on the TV scattered throughout Night City recreates an iconic scene from the first Matrix film, where Neo and Trinity arm themselves before rescuing Morpheus. Additionally, during the quest Chippin' In, Johnny Silverhand will be offered a red pill or a blue pill from a stranger clad in dark leathers, recreating another of the Matrix's most iconic moments. Another small reference can be found in the common item Cactus Juice, though it could just be an item randomly named for a plant that grows in the Badlands around Night City. I think that Cactus Juice is likely named for a joke from the second season of the animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender, where Sokka drinks some juice from a cactus and has a good time.
Drink cactus juice. It'll quench ya. It's the quenchiest!
There's yet another reference to a popular TV series hidden in the quest Big in Japan. Here, V rescues a man smuggled into Night City from Japan who is hiding from the Tiger Claws. At the end of the quest, the man explains why the gang was after him in the first place.
In Japan, brain sergeant, top of all. Good instinct. One day, Tiger Claw boss needs surgery. But boss die on table. Tiger Claws were very angry. I hide in boat, swim to America. Here didn't save me. But there is secret. I killed Tiger Claw boss on purpose. World best surgeon, make no mistake.
This is almost word for word taken from a joke from the American version of The Office, where the character Hidetoshi Hashigawa has an almost identical backstory. I would play that clip for you, but copyright law is the worst. During the quest Down on the Street, V will have a conversation down by Night City's harbor during the dead of night. In the background, a barge will float by, carrying parts of a giant parade float imported from Japan. This particular barge has the head of a wolf prominently displayed, and the wolf has what appears to be a small bundle of cloth or some sort of paintbrush in its mouth. What this is referencing becomes quite clear as the barge floats on, revealing the word Okami in neon light. While Okami can mean wolf or great deity in Japanese, it seems quite clear that this was meant to be a reference to the Capcom classic Okami, where players take control of the sun goddess Amaterasu in wolf form and use celestial paintbrush techniques during gameplay. After Pan Am's quest, Ghost Town, if you return to the tunnel from that mission here on your map, you will find a bit of a surprise waiting for you inside. Deep in the tunnel, you will find a shipping container off to one side, and within, someone has set up some sort of workshop. A corkboard with all sorts of notes is on the back wall, and a desk with drone parts and electronic equipment is off to one side. What is most obviously in here, however, is the jet black Rayfield Caliburn parked in the container. You can actually claim this vehicle as your own, and you really should. Though it's a bit slippery, it is undoubtedly the fastest vehicle in the game, and I got it up to about 210 kilometers per hour. A note titled "Read this every day. Never give up. Remember your purpose" can also be found in this cave, reading, "Don't be afraid. There's nothing there." That's what they always told me, that the night my parents were murdered, I knew I had seen something in the dark of that night. I searched for it a long time, cloaked myself in the darkness, learning it, understanding it, merging with it. I realized in its depths, where light cannot escape, there was only one thing to fear: myself. I became the shadow. I became vengeance. I became the man Night City doesn't deserve. I became Mercman. I deliver the vengeance, destruction, and justice necessary to save this dying city from itself, and I will do so until the day my heart no longer beats inside my chest. If you hadn't picked up on it, this is an obvious nod to the DC Comics character Batman. The cave and shipping container are clearly meant to be a pastiche of the Batcave, and the Caliburn vehicle is a stand-in for the Batmobile. Honestly, I would expect nothing less from the Caped Crusader. He would just have over-the-top tech like this. Seriously, what a rad Easter egg, and also the lighting in here is just dope. Definitely take a moment and snap a picture of yourself if you're so inclined. Now, let's hit on some of the best Easter eggs in the game. It's references to the cyberpunk masterpiece Blade Runner. One of the more obvious ones comes in the design of Misty, a side character that every player will encounter during the main storyline. Her design has clearly drawn inspiration from the character Pris, who has one of the more eye-catching styles in Blade Runner. Next, let's take a stop by the Columbarium, a sort of graveyard for cremated bodies in Night City. Depending on your decisions throughout the game, you will find several names here, but regardless of your actions, there are some graves that will always show up. For example, these two here are marked for Alt Cunningham and Robert John Linder, who you will know better as Johnny Silverhand. Another is marked for Roy Batty, with the image of a dove flying away projected above it. Its tag reads, "All these moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain." Those are the iconic final words of the character Roy Batty in Blade Runner, ad-libbed by actor Rutger Hauer. Sadly, Hauer passed away in 2019, so I imagine this grave has a sort of double meaning, memorializing both the character and the amazing actor that brought him to life. Next to Roy Batty's grave, we will find another one marked for Sid Mead, labeled as a creator of worlds. This too is memorializing a real-world figure, the industrial designer and concept artist Sid Mead, who likewise passed away in 2019. Mead was responsible for much of the cyberpunk aesthetic, having worked on films including both Blade Runners, Tron, Aliens, and Star Trek the Motion Picture, amongst many, many others. Even the AT-ATs from Star Wars were inspired by Mead's work, so it seems only appropriate that he be honored in a game that celebrates the genre he contributed so much to. Another just beautiful homage to Blade Runner can be found around here on your map. At this location, you will come across the abandoned Advocate Hotel, sign covered in graffiti, a strange sight in such a wealthy part of the city. When you open its front doors, in the lobby, you will be greeted by an origami bird placed upon the counter, illuminated by a spotlight. Origami played a key part in the symbolism of Blade Runner, though that film used an origami unicorn in place of a bird. To the left of the counter, you will see a still functioning elevator, and when you take it, it brings you up to the building's terrace. Now, as soon as the door opened, the environment in my game changed. The lighting was appropriate for the time of day in game, but it hadn't been raining before this moment. Spotlights stream in from the skylight roof, and a soft, synthetic track began to play. Walking around to the main part of the roof's terrace, I noticed a lone figure sitting, overlooking the city. The man was injured, so I scanned him, but nothing came up. No name, no status, no affiliation, just unknown. Unique tattoos dot his body, and blood leaks from wounds on his forehead, chest, and hand. Strangely, there was a bird perched on his hand. This is quite a rare sight in Night City. Most animal life has abandoned the metropolis, so much so that some characters comment on animal life in the city when they see it. And I don't ever recall seeing a bird like this anywhere else in game. Over by the stairs leading here, there is a neon sign that reads simply, "Like tears." This is a loving recreation of the climactic scene of Blade Runner, the same one we referred to earlier at the grave of Roy Batty. This man is clearly meant to be a stand-in for Batty, who has died overlooking this city. The amount of love and care and attention to detail put into this Easter egg makes it undoubtedly one of the best I have ever encountered in a video game. It has heart, it creates a tone, and it's just jaw-droppingly beautiful. Fantastic work on this bit, CDPR. There's another breathtaking homage to one of the gaming industry's auteurs, Hideo Kojima, and his latest game Death Stranding, hidden within Cyberpunk 2077 as well. Both Easter eggs are loving references to their source material, and also expand the world of Cyberpunk in fascinating ways. I did an entire video explaining those Easter eggs, so go check that out if you want to know more about Cyberpunk's secrets. Night City is just packed with little hidden secrets and environmental Easter eggs, and we'll be looking for them all soon enough, going district by district. Until then, are there any cool Easter eggs that you found? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, please do me a solid and like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more. You can also ring the bell so you're the first to know when Easter egg and lore videos go up. And if you're into this sort of thing, you can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram to get updates. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.